and Clout, which is a popular measuring tool, the Clout score in particular. And that's the likelihood that someone, when searching for us, would find our name. So those are the three that we really like to track. And there are other, you can make this as in-depth as you'd like. We also keep track of how many times we're retweeted, and we are retweeting, and referencing, and followers. And for those last three items, it's mostly just to see where we can improve. Oh, our following rate isn't going very high. How can we increase that? Or, oh my goodness, I did terrible and I only referenced one person that week. Oh my god, So then now I know. It's a very good reminder for me what I need to improve or increase. So, and we also track link click-throughs. Excuse me. So that's how we knew what video link worked, what language worked better, so we can improve our language. We also use Hootsuite. Do people use any of those other tools? TweetDeck, Hootsuite? Those sound familiar? Okay. We transitioned from TweetDeck to Hootsuite about early August by the recommendation of various people, and I'm sold. Some reasons that I like Hootsuite a lot better is that you can schedule tweets, which again reduces time and helps with time management for social media use. The speed is a lot quicker and it's accessible online, so I can use it anywhere, whereas TweetDeck is a computer-based program, and it uses a lot more memory and slows things down. So photo usage is about the same. We can track multiple accounts, so like for Gabby, she can track her own Twitter account as well as Girls Inc. and at the same time through the same tool, which is very useful. And then there are some tracking stats that are also good in addition to Twitalizer. And I just like the general structure of making lists. And so, for example, the first one is Girls Inc. affiliates. So national affiliates, we have Holyoke, Omaha, the national organization, New York City, nonprofits that I follow, and then media sources. So what's going on as well as who we can connect with in the media. And the columns go on. And then for Facebook, we don't track this quite as closely because we're not posting quite as often, but we do look at it weekly and then really look at graphs monthly to see what posts are doing well and how we can improve. The demographics in particular are interesting. Obviously, well, I guess I cut that off, but we're serving a lot more women. That's the top bars than men, and so that also helps us generate content that's more effective when we know exactly who our audience is on Facebook.
So another tool that we use not only to track what happens with our website, but with social media is Google Analytics, which you're probably familiar with. Most people use it. It's a free tool that Google offers that you just install a little bit of code on your website, and it keeps track of what pages people visit, the path they take through your site, where they came from. So Google Analytics has been really helpful in us keeping track of, like Aubrey said, what pages people are visiting from, but also, what are the other pages they visit on our site once they get there. So what is calling their attention on our site? What other things are those people interested in that come to our site from these different sources? One of the things that helps us grow our audience as well as just keep people aware that we're out there in social media is that we make sure to integrate all of the sites that we're on with our website. As you can see, we have now on our newly redesigned website a little box that says connect with us with all of the networks that we're on, as well as a link for our newsfeed for our blog. And then we also put that same box on our e-newsletters, and then we put it in our email signatures, pretty much anywhere that we can, where we send things out so that people know where else they can connect with us.
We've been using social media for fundraising campaigns. Sometimes. Like you said earlier, fundraising hasn't been our priority online, and there's a lot of research about whether that's even useful or not. Certainly social media is the greatest tool for awareness building, but not necessarily fundraising. However, last summer we ran a scholarship campaign to raise money for our summer camp. We sent 2 email solicitations out a few weeks apart, took that same theme and developed tweets and Facebook updates that did the same call to action to make a donation. So while in that 2 to 3 week campaign online, we were also using the social media. The Facebook status, we were able to tell the story of a girl who would need scholarships. So we had a lot more space to actually develop the ask. And on Twitter, we had more short, a $20 gift will pay for a full day of summer camp. So they're short and sweet, to the point, and push people back to our donation website. Tracking gifts from social media hasn't been very effective for us. However, the campaign in a whole, donations to that specific campaign online, did raise a couple $1,000s in that time frame. So they weren't directly coming from Facebook or Twitter, but they were somehow getting back to our website, whether that was from the email or I clicked on it, I went back later, I made my donation. So we can't draw a direct link to fundraising, but we know that the integration as a whole has worked for us. It's just those quick reminders. Someone might get an email, they can't make the donation right now, but if we hit them with another reminder, maybe they'll go back to it and make the donation. So,
did you have e-solicitations prior to integration that you were able to make a comparison?
Yes, they weren't as successful as this particular one was.
So,
yeah. And our last slide, we wanted to, before we open it up for questions, give you some resources, some of our favorite either social media events, blogs, or Twitter handles to follow. So we've each picked out our own, except I got to go last, so some of theirs are my favorites too, but all of them are going to be great resources, so we'll go through those for you.
So the Indie social media group now, it's now a group, not just breakfast. Have you guys heard of that? Anyone been to it? It's really good if you want to use networking, and they always have an engaging speaker and good content to cover. So they have a lot of networking events now, in addition to this social media breakfast where they have a speaker. There's one coming up November 11th, but I believe the registration was this morning. So you can check that out and see if you can go. But it's really good for networking, and it's a sort of tweet up. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that term either, but you meet face-to-face people you connect with all the time on Twitter and Facebook. The blogs that I mentioned here are 3 nonprofit women who focus also on social media, but just general practices and fundraising. And then just a couple Twitter handles that I also follow.
The only event I mentioned is Intense Nonprofit Technology Conference. I'm not as involved in social media now that Aubrey and Gabby have taken it over, but I still, every other year, we go to Intense Nonprofit Technology Conference, and they always have a lot of social media sessions. So that's generally where I stay up to date, at least technology-wise, what we need to be looking at. And then I also mentioned a few blogs that I follow. Most of them are about marketing or writing. I started following a lot of those when we first went into social media because that wasn't my strength. I was in technology and branding, so it was important to learn how to write for the online audience because it's a lot different than writing for print.
My events pick was Blog Indiana. Their conference was just a few months ago. They focus on blogs, but they also do a lot of social media work, and it's a great networking opportunity, and it's a really affordable conference. My blog choices are focused on more of the technology side. For me, it's not just about staying current on what's going on in fundraising, but what's going on in technology as a whole. Mostly because my husband's in IT, so I need to be able to communicate at the dinner table. So Mashable, Nonprofit Tech 2.0, and Pro Blogger Blog. Pro Blogger Blog is a really great one if you haven't started a blog yet. They have really great tips about getting started, if you're using multiple writers, how to manage that, coming up with fresh new ideas if you've run out of them. So that's a really great resource. And we've picked several Twitter handles to follow, but I'll do a little plug because Nathan's in the room. I just saw posted of the top 50 nonprofit professionals to follow. Jessica Journey and Nathan Hand were both listed, and they're both local fundraising professionals, so you should certainly follow them on Twitter. They both have their own blogs, so I'd look up them as a resource. We're going to send out post a video of this presentation and the presentation so that you can actually see what these are. I know we have a pretty packed room.